Let's get to the story of the day. Have you ever heard a story that seems completely out of this world? That's exactly where I was when this episode happened. Out of this planet. I visited what I now refer to as the spirit world. The year was 1998. When I was riding my Harley, I was hit by a truck. Live flight to San Diego's hospital, according to medical records, had to be revived 3 times along the road. My injuries included 56 shattered bones, a collapsed lung, and a closed head injury. I'd broken my jaw off its hinges, cracked it, lost teeth, and lacerated my tongue, drowning in my own blood. For the better part of 3 months, I was in a coma. This is how I explain the coma, since it is how it was. I didn't merely wake up one day after sleeping. I began to come and go after a few weeks of being away. This carried on for a long time. In addition, the doctors kept me in a drug-induced coma. To the best of my knowledge, everything you're going to read is precisely how it happened, and I recall it vividly. Nothing will be added to make a better story or to align my experience with that of others. There were no spectacular lights, a tunnel, or lovely music. There were no clouds, glitter, or gold. But then again, perhaps I wasn't going in that route. Despite its size, the hospital is hidden at the back of a residential area. You only pass by if you're on your way somewhere. The hospital is a bit of a dead end in the area. I'm certain that I'd never gone to or passed by a hospital before this encounter. I was also unconscious when the live flight arrived. Furthermore, the heliport landing pad is on the roof, and you enter the trauma area from the roof. This is all very significant in my story. My room, 734, was on the 7th floor, towards the front of the hospital. The window looked out onto the front concrete courtyard-style main entrance, which is covered by a weather shield-style roof. The roof obscured my view of the entrance from my window. My body was unable to reach the window. Every time I appeared to awaken, I was informed of another harm. Then I'd go back to my favorite hangout, the front courtyard. I found myself out there as if I were looking for a friend who was a hurting patient on the inside. I was wondering if he was going to make it or not. Despite the fact that I knew he was my pal, there was another guy with me, but we both kept our mouths shut. I assumed he was in the same situation as me at that moment, so to speak, and I didn't pay any attention to him. I was out there for what seemed like 3 days or so. I'd go hang out on a small outside passage across the grass at night, slightly to the left of the front door. I have no idea where the other person went at night. During the day, though, he was always in the courtyard. I would frequently go stare out the window at my broken body laying on the bed. It seemed like I was watching a movie. I didn't notice my body moving to the window. Only the vision may zoom in and focus there. I'd return to the courtyard and reflect on my life. I'm thinking about the other close calls I've experienced throughout the years, as well as others who died at far younger ages. My father died when he was 32, and I am now over 40. He died when I was 8 years old. I recall thinking to myself that I'd lived a far longer life than they had. I also recall thinking that I didn't have 6 children and a wife to rely on. I had recently divorced and had a 7-year-old kid at the time. My ex-wife made a lot of money, and they didn't really need me financially. I was contemplating whether I should live or die. I seemed to have a choice for some unknown reason. On approximately the 3rd day, the other guy in the courtyard confronted me. He remarked, looking me in the eyes, "So George, what are your plans?" That's when I understood he was either God or someone from his department. Perhaps my father, though he didn't look like the few images I've seen of him. I almost went, but the thought of abandoning my daughter, who I adore, and knowing how much she adores her daddy made me reconsider. I simply did not want her to grow up without her father. Not if I had any say in the matter. And obviously, I had a voice in the matter. The guy also reassured me that I will heal. He said nothing except, "Well, George, what are you going to do? but I had a feeling I'd get well. I also understood it would take a very, very long time. We communicated via mental telepathy or something similar. So I informed him that I intended to stay. I also informed him that I drank too much and did not want to return to that lifestyle. He never responded to me on that one. That would be the last time I saw him. Despite the fact that I believe I shall see him again, I returned to my body with considerable force. That is why I say it. My body was in the operating table, undergoing yet another procedure. Suddenly, I awoke fully and made a remark. I explained that they were working on my right leg, near my shin, deep inside. The room fell silent. I only recall the anesthetic doctor and myself at that point. I begged him to let me back out. He finally accomplished it after what seemed like an eternity. My friend Richard came over one night, and I was starting to wake up by this point. Richard announced that he was going outdoors to smoke. Prior to the accident, I was a smoker. "Take me with you," I said. I haven't smoked in a long time. I was desperate to get out of that bed. Richard, I knew, was going to come through for me. He and Spivey stopped over frequently, and if I smoked, I would get to go outside a lot. So Richard went out and got a wheelchair, lifted me up, pushed me onto it, and off we went. Out the front door and down the elevator. I stopped and locked my chair brake after approximately 30 to 40 feet straight ahead. My jaw had been fractured and my teeth had been wired shut, but I pretended to like the smoke. It was time to go back in when we finished smoking. Richard shifted my gaze to the front entrance and courtyard. When I saw where I used to hang out and where the other guy stood, even the outside corridor where I went at night, I thought to myself, son of a bitch, that was real. It was only then that I realized my memories were not a dream, and I told Richard everything. "We're going to have to start calling you Bones," Richard stated shortly after. "You have nothing to be concerned about," Spivey remarked. "Only the virtuous perish at a young age." I was confident that I would heal. I knew it was going to take a long, long time. Finally, I'll tell you that I went 2.5 years without drinking. I just drink like a gentleman now. That is, I have a 6-pack of Bud in my fridge that I purchased a month ago. There are still 1 or 2 bottles left. Kristen, my daughter, is doing well and lives with her father half of the time. Over the last 37 months, I've had 43 surgical procedures. The most recent occurred 6 weeks ago. Except for a few teeth that were replaced, I still have all of my physical parts. I understand that this is only a little portion of a very long time. Kristen is now 10, and I'm looking forward to giving her away at her wedding someday. And, as the song goes, I might have missed the pain, but I'd have missed the dance. Bones.